I'm at a loss.
So you were saying...
I'm just saying... Oh, yes, because what you just said is the constantness of it. That's what I was thinking about, because I have somewhat changed my tune a little bit. I used to be... I mean, not exactly anti-technology, because that's... I mean,
no, I don't think
not exactly. But I used to be like, technology is making people soft and whatnot, and that's probably still true. But the real issue, I think, is... Because... I mean, I guess I'll give the full backstory.
This is getting far less done than I want it to be.
Well, yeah, probably. It's a bit too sprayish and prayish. I mean, not that this is a whole lot better, but... Nope. Ah, well. Stay alive. Oh, thighs.
You're welcome for staying alive for your thighs.
The Apple goggles have come out.
Oh, those are freaky deaky.
I don't even think they are. They just seem pathetic.
It's very well.
I like that. Again, word, I'm going to refer to the Lotus Eaters because they just refer to them saying the only way to stop this as a cultural phenomenon is just to basically bully it out of existence.
Well,
so they call them the wank goggles.
Yeah, they are.
It's like we're just going to assume that if you're the guy walking around in daily life wearing these, you've just got porn everywhere. That's just what we're going to assume about you. And it's probably not far off.
That's not untrue.
It's just like, these are the wank goggles.
Well, and the scary thing is with the whole concept of AI and the ability to adjust people's...
That wasn't related.
What is it called? Adjust people's like photos and things of that nature that people have already...
Have you seen the reverse of that, though?
No, but I'm saying, hear me out.
There's a reverse of that. I forget what it's called. I think it's called...
Where people are literally
I think it's called Dignify AI, like Dignif AI.
But I mean,
and it's the opposite, where it takes slutty pictures and closes them. No, I'm just saying that you're correct because that exists. But it's funny that the opposite also exists
that in real time. Like if you're wearing those wank goggles.
Oh yeah, because it could do that. If you, I mean, probably it wouldn't be something you could download. You'd have to like upload it yourself.
Well, but I mean, even
but someone would
just literally walk around and be like, "Hey, that person is."
Yeah, it could absolutely. That kind of thing could very much exist. I just thought that the alternate... The thing about AI is fascinating. It proves the point we made a long time ago. It's like AI is only going to be as dangerous as we are. So it's like, yes, obviously there's going to be people who have that, but then you might also get the opposite of people who've got the classy AI, where it's like just... You're at the gym and you've got the chicks wearing the nothing outfits. And it just puts them in like proper ye olde outfits.
They're just sitting there doing
like, squats in like ye olde dress. Am I driving alone? Oh, you've bailed on me. Well, no wonder.
Because I'm actually out here doing...
No wonder I'm getting hit. I have no defense. Anyways, yes. So the thing that I thought about it is back in the day... The computer was a thing that had to be in a room. You had the computer room in your house, or even if it wasn't a room, it was like your computer was somewhere.
I know where you're going with this, and I 100% agree.
And that's where I think, okay, you know what? It's not technology's fault, and it's not even social media's fault, because I used to be very much like, social media is a net negative. And I remember having Facebook in 2008, and it was just a thing you like checked and then left, because again, the computer was stuck in the one room. So you couldn't be on it all day unless you were on that computer all day, and you usually didn't. You
became that guy in the basement then, and everybody knew it.
Yeah, and it was a much harder to be that disconnected.
Well, but it was also a social. You became a social pariah. That was the whole point. Is that there was social
it used to cost you something.
It was like,
because there were always people like that, but they were you couldn't get away with it as easily.
Well, and if you did, it was like people knew you were a wanker.
So. That's where I've basically come to the conclusion that, you know what, it's not the internet and it's not even social media, it's just smartphones that are the problem. Just get rid of those.
You don't need your phone in your pocket, you work at Kohl's.
I think that's honestly the position I've come to, and that's why it's like, I'm never going back. My phone does everything I need it to, and it doesn't do anything else. And I mean, technically speaking, it's not truly like a dumb phone. Because it runs Android and it has various... I mean, it's a limited version of Android, but it can browse the internet. If I had to log into my bank, stuff, which is about... Like, that's about as inconvenient of a thing as that I can do. It's like, okay, if I really had to, I could get on the browser and like see why a transaction's not going through or something like that. But for the most part, it makes calls, it texts, and I can look up the map, and that's basically all I need it for. Because I have caught myself at times thinking, all right, have I just replaced my phone with my tablet, which I use much more often? But even then, I'm like, well, okay, it doesn't have data, so I can't be on it just, anywhere. I have to have an internet connection. And it stays in my bag because it's too big to be on my person at all times. And as a result, I'm just not on it as often.
Yeah.
Like, the most I'll do... Okay, does one of us have to go at a time? You can't... Oh, are we not supposed to go in here?
Can you get in first?
Are they reinforcing?
Is it about your buttocks?
It's my priority, no.
It's your priority buttocks?
Is this a resupply ship, or is this an evac ship?
Oh.
Well, I just don't have the pause.
Well, that's...
I'll just have to manually edit, just stop.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the wrong one. We're going to get bad graphic view. Whoa!
He looks like... He go back!
Okay, so that was just... They're sending... The Ickle people are going home. And the real men are going to continue the fight. I'm going to take this opportunity to pee anyway. With the marzipan's radish, we're going to win the competition.
That's what you're going to use for, like, some sort of task.
Yeah, might as well.
All right.
So anyways, basically what I think I've discovered, or maybe not, I mean, discovered's probably not, I've clarified in my own mind, is that technology really isn't the problem unless it's incessant. It's almost...
Well,
like
people,
we're not, we don't.
The problem. What a surprise!
Well, sure, but I mean, the issue is it's a kind of transhumanist philosophy that's like, oh, we have to have our technology around us always because that's what makes us superior, I guess. But it's like,
which actually
back in even as late as like 2010, Facebook was a thing you had to use on your computer, and unless you were just always on your computer, it was a static thing.
Yeah.
It didn't follow you around.
Which is
so you would leave your house and you would not be on the computer unless you'd be in the real world. But now the digital world follows you everywhere, which means that is what enables people to never leave it.
Well, and the question I think for on a lot of people's mind is at what point does the digital then supersede or
it already
overlay
has
the reality.
Because that's the thing. Again, going back to the Lotus teachers, one thing that they were analyzing. I mean, not analyzing. They were discussing the sort of kind of the social ramifications of the Google or the Apple glasses, and there's basically like we essentially all this does is make it look worse. But this is no different than the world we're already living in, where you're on a bus and everyone's on their phone. Like, yes, it doesn't look as strange as everyone's got these weird goggles on and they're making strange faces. But it's the same effect. Yeah. Like, the guy next to you on the bus could be looking at porn for all you know. I mean, I guess it would probably be slightly harder for him to hide it. But he probably just as easy could if he was careful about it.
Yeah.
So it's not like, it isn't that this has shifted the paradigm really. It's just made the paradigm look worse.
Yeah.
Which in some ways it's like, okay, perhaps if the optics get bad enough, perhaps things will finally change.
Well, that's what I was getting at, is optics is the problem.
Because people have tried to...
Dadgummit, I know
the comparison that I have seen made, I think we need to get back in the thing, because I think we got to move out of here. Where's the warthog? The warthog comes second after the pelican. Is this the part where we have to go
down to the beach? Is that what it is?
I don't remember. All I know is everybody around you. Oh, here's the warthog.
Beach. Look at that beach.
Hello. Hey, your guy's going to steal your gun.
He's stealing your gun. He stole your gun.
He's probably going to get in the back.
Ooh.
We got one random survivor from this fight, and he's going to join us.
Well.
Yep, he's stealing your gun. You're going to have to ride shotgun.
He's about to die. I just said that so unfeeling. Sir,
what was I saying?
It's going to be a bad day for you, pal.
You might be able to get him out. Oh, yeah, you can.
Going to be a cold day in hell before
I get the shotgun. He's not going to get in, though.
He's just like, all right.
Fine, I'll ride shotgun. I forgot what I was...
Then,
You superior beings?
No, I was thinking...
7-foot-tall monster men? I forgot where I was going with that. It's been driven from my mind. The sight of those thighs.
Elitist is what I was thinking. Screw you then, you elitist piece.
What? I mean, if only because we are vastly superior to you.
If only because we are elite.
I mean, it's such like, I was bred since the age of 6, pal. If I'm not elite, then the government's wasting money.
I'm pretty sure we have to follow that stream.
I'm going to follow the lights on the ground. That always leads to things.
Follow that strand.
Oh, we got a checkpoint. That means I'm right.
One of those moments where I would have flanked them from the stream, and then... We're going to flank that army from that stream.
I'm going to leave that alone.
Look at that stream.
I don't want to know what you're streaming. in multiple senses of technology and what's streaming out of you. Oh boy, I made a mistake.
Weak stream.
Never mind. I made a great decision. Anyways, technology is it's only as bad as we allow it to be.
Yep.
Because that's the thing.
Well, welcome back.
I remember back in 2008.
Extreme responsibility too, because I was having this discussion the other day with one of my friends, and it was like they were basically giving an excuse for not ignorance, but benign neglect. And it was like, but that's because this other person was being manipulative. And I'm going, well, but that's no excuse, because just because people are sheeple and they end up following.
I'm getting back at the warthog. I'm going home.
I don't know.
I don't think this is the place to be.
Especially on a governmental level, I find this to be true, but you don't have an excuse or a cop-out simply because, somebody else told me to do it. It's like, well, I'm sorry, that doesn't give you... Yeah, but you still did it. Exactly. You're still culpable for what you've done, period.
Even if you were lied to. I do not know where anyone is.
In some cases. Eat it!
I am lost.
He ate it.
Oh, he did. Yes, okay, I will.
Oh, I think I got a cavity. Oh, he just...
Where is people?
He just gave me a cavity.
Cavity search, maybe.
No, you weirdo. He made a new cavity in me.
Nah, he stuck his finger somewhere.
No!
You can pick where, but he definitely did
First
it.
I was a man. Now I'm
a cavity. I'm getting shot. Not today, son. I felt like that could have. I've had more something wise to say about that topic, but I think now I'm just angry.
Well, that I pretty much could sum up a lot
Plow
of our
him
discussions.
over with the warthog.
We start with wisdom and we end with anger. Call it
The way of life. How are you finding all of this stuff? The action finds you, and it never finds me.
I'm fairly confident I just look for it.
And now I'm just traipsing around in a warthog with no gun. Those needle bullets are moving mighty slow. Well, I plowed over a few of them. That counts for something, doesn't it?
What the what?
I don't know.
What the?
I think you got to get back in the hog.
Something changed.
I think we're about to mosey on out.
All right, hang on.
I'm just saying.
Okay, I will.
It's because I remember the day. I mean, like, I was still young when this was a thing, but like I had Facebook, and you'd be on it, and like the most you could do to waste time is you had like your sticker board that you put on, which somehow it typified your personality that no one ever looked at, and you'd poke a few people, and that was it. It was like, okay,
That sounds so suspect to those that didn't grow up with this.
like you'd struggle to spend more than half an hour on it unless you were actively talking to someone.
See, I grew up in the era before the Facebook, and we had dial-up and Zanga.
Yeah, but that Facebook originally was basically just the nicest version of that.
Maybe, but
Like
I mean, we had basically, you'd get online and you'd take quizzes.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
be
those
like,
were
this
those
is
were
who I
things.
was, and
This is what kind of dinnerware I am.
and I'm gonna share this with my friends
What
because
I'm a
gonna find
gravy
out-
boat.
I'm a what? A gravy boat. I'm gonna find out why you're a butter dish, and I'm.
Have we decided that that's the lowest of the lows?
I don't know.
You butter dish.
You. Because you are the butter dish, and I am the knife.
So take it on the chin.
You're just going back to that. No.
Well, you setting it up for that.
You're making me sound like some sort of monster.
Well, I mean, what's with the wife beater? You could at least put pants on. Yeah. I'm just saying, I'm not going back to having a smartphone because I don't need one.
Yeah.
The tablet works well enough.
The whole point is.
And even then, I don't have it all the time. Basically, I only use it in my room. Like, maybe I'll take it to the kitchen if I'm following a recipe. But I don't just wander around the house with it. Because, like, even the Apple goggles, it's like, if you just had those and they were in the computer room and they never left that room,
Yeah, but
I can see them being kind of nifty.
If you had it in a space where you needed to work digitally on a 3D level, similar to like the way that Iron Man works in
Yeah.
the shop, it's like, okay, that's sensible. But
just the idea that, like, you're just going to wear them all the time, especially out. It's like, you ought to be treated the same way people who wear their pajamas in public are treated. It's just like, yeah, you can, but we think of you as inferior.
think of you.
That's ultimately, I guess, the thing is just people need to know that certain decisions make you a worse person. All men are created equal, but they certainly don't act that way.
Well, it's that. What is that? Which show is that where the guy says, "Do I think that all men?"
It's
should
Lincoln,
be
a great
treated
film.
Yeah, that is.
How can I hold that all men are created equal when standing before me? Stinking is the moral carcass of the gentleman from Ohio. Proof that some men are inferior. I don't know why I've memorized that speech. I didn't do it on purpose. Are you not going to get in the car?
No, because I was clearing the.
Well, because it is the ultimate response. It's just like.
It's like, I think that all men should be treated equally, but
But even you, George, even worthless, unworthy you, ought to be treated equal before the law. Because that's ultimately the difference between the sort of French egalitarianism and American
Right.
equality was, it's about legal equality. It's like, yes, we all have the same rights and should be represented equally. But the French system is the idea that's like, no, we are all actually the same.
Well,
I am no better than you.
That came from French Revolution, though. I mean,
well, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's why it's French.
Yeah.
But it's just like, that's the notion. It's the difference between we are all, have our voices are all equally should be heard versus we are all equal moral agents. It's like, no, actually, some of us are awful people. And some of us at least try to be better. And there ought to be a distinction between those two, because if there isn't, then all morality goes out the window.
Or responsibility.
If a serial murderer is of equal, moral consideration as, an upstanding citizen,
right?
Then what's the moral value of your society?
Well, and what does a upstanding citizen even mean at that point?
Yeah, you may as well not be one. Where have you gone?
To the action. Can't miss any of the action.
I don't want to miss it, but it misses me.
Ouch, that's me. You just got zapped. Oh, I got zapped to your weird butt that's in the wrong spot.
Well, take me to the right spot. How about you stay in the car?
So that I can give you directions?
Yeah, you sit in the passenger seat with the map. I don't know. Because I could just as easily be like a person who's like totally off grid and living off of kerosene lamps in the woods. And
could go through the...
But the thing is, there's lots of stuff about modernity that I like. I can't...
for sure.
I wouldn't be able to watch obscure science fiction films from the 1930s without the internet. I don't know why that was the example that came to mind, but it's just it's one of the random things I've done on the internet. But it's interesting, and I like that kind of stuff is available. But it's trouble.
You just ran me over.
Well, you were in the battlefield. I'm just running over everything on 2 legs.
Anything on 4 legs is okay. So if they're...
Well, I don't think any of the Covenant have that, but if I find one, I'll run over them too. Anything on any number of legs at all.
So, just in case there's any Chimerian Covenant, you're screwed.
As a matter of fact, I'll run over anything on legs.
If you're on your hands, it's okay. It's fair game.
Oh boy, I can't get through that. Wait, hang on. Oh, there's no horn? Was this before the horn got added?
Look, that's the horn.
Oh,
I'll drive.
In the later games, you had a horn button.
That was humorous, but I'm sure people got tired of the incessant horn honking.
And that's why the internet sucks.
No.
Because we all got tired of the horn honking. Because the internet is the dedicated horn button.
That is a very accurate statement. That's why I ended up laughing, because it's sad.
Okay, bye. Bye, little babies.
I think that it's...
Leave the men to do the dirty work. Oh, we got one guy who stuck with us. Gunner Man is a real fellow. Whoop, punch the car just because I'm like that.
You're given...
All true motor bros know the thing is you got to sock the door panel every time you get in.
You just have a dented up door panel.
Just remind the car who's in charge. Hey, I think nowadays we could use that reminder.
Yeah, no doubt.
Don't want my car telling me nothing. I think it's just
move over in a lane. It's like you're out of the lane position. Yes, I know.
It's the incessantness of the technology that can't be escaped. That's the ultimate problem.
Well, it can be, but it is making it more and more easy to.
Why do you keep bailing when I'm in rocks?
Because I don't trust you.
Well, fine. I'm leaving you behind then. I'll find the action on my own.
Will you?
With blackjack and hookers.
Hookers on Ponix.
That's quite a different video series. I think your teacher put in the wrong VHSs.
Oh crap! That was from yesterday.
I thought I took those home.
I found the checkpoint again because...
How? There's no enemies. I'm just going to do sick ramps off of all these weird hills.
Oh, hello.
It's a rock.
Yes, I'd like to take that with me.
I found the action this time. The action's for me. I'm plowing aliens. What? Oh, it's a ship. Okay. I'm not coming back for you.
That's all right. I'll get zapped to your butt in 3 seconds anyway.
Alrighty. Yeah, so I don't have any actual advice. I'm just
Other than plow aliens.
I'm just apparently mad about the inescapability of the digital age. Because honestly, I think if nothing changed except smartphones being, I mean, I don't know, banned, because I don't think there needs to be legal action, because that opens a whole new can of worms. But I think it should just be viewed as like wearing your pajamas in public. Like, yeah, sure, you can be on your phone on the bus, but you're a pleb. I don't know. Bullying may have been a social force for good in the end.
Wow.
I'm just saying, there's some people who ought to know or ought to have learned that some behavior is unacceptable.
Well, and I also think that
the trouble is you gotta...
We're raising a whole generation of squibs. It's like, if you're bullied, I understand, and we obviously want to.
And I mean, that's the thing.
That.
If you're bullied because it's like, all right, you've got glasses, that's a dumb thing to bully someone over.
Well, and you also
because it's not even interesting.
The strength. Well, okay, now you're just being pedantic.
No, but I'm saying like it's an immutable characteristic that can't be helped, but it's also irrelevant. Like
sure.
That has nothing to do with you as a person. Where it's like if you're bullied because you're a creepy kid who never showers, and you watch too much creepy child anime, then yeah, you should probably. Someone should have come along and been like, you're too weird to be around. We would rather you not be here because you make us all uncomfortable.
Well, and the point
and maybe
is,
maybe that was something that you needed to hear to get over that.
Right. You either need parents need to teach their kids to have the strength to say if it's a reflection of the other person's character and it's basically like, we just don't like you and we're going to treat you like trash. Okay, fine. But if it's, again, there's a degree of peer pressure
but if it's because you're a creep, you need to be corrected.
Yeah.
I mean, how else do social animals correct each other than by occasionally lashing out? We're going to get all sorts of opinions
even in
about
the worst
this.
Case, if it's it's an actual bully situation, at the very least it requires
well, I mean, unless there's
it requires people to deal with.
I'm sorry, pal. I took you with me.
How do I get out there? Now I'm confused.
Well, you're about to be more confused because I'm going to zap to you. I don't know where we went. And now we don't have a car. Should have followed me.
We're in the middle of nowhere. It's not a boulder. It's a rock.
Yeah. I mean, again, if it's a kid, actually hitting you and taking your lunch money, it's like, okay, well, let's just start calling that what it is, a crime.
Yes, but even with
if it's just, hey, you're a dork because you watch creepy stuff and smell like cheese.
Then it requires the kid to defend themselves. Even in the worst cases, it's like, bullies suck. It's like, yeah, well, then show him why he sucks and punch him in the face.
Well, yeah, to an extent. But I think I could certainly get behind a society in which people don't just throw their weight around because they have it.
Sure.
Like, that's something I think we could all be better off without. But if it is just, we're going to be
throwing it around.
If it's just snide comments about you having poor hygiene or strange interests, then maybe you should think about your hygiene or your strange interests. And maybe if you think about it and go, actually, no.
I don't agree.
I don't agree with your assessment of my interests. But if it's like, maybe you should think about, if you only ever watch, I don't know. I mean, it depends.
You're being cagey because you don't want to actually alienate any sort of...
No, I mean, it's like, it depends on how degenerate it is. Because there's plenty of degenerate stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, if you watch weird, creepy, like the anime that gives anime a bad name.
You deserve to be made fun of.
You're a what?
Brony.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Or a furry.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, these are things that should have been socialized away. These aren't just like, oh, we'll live and let live. It's like, no, you're actually a degenerate. and society should have corrected you. But if it's like, hey, I am interested in weird, niche hobbies. I'm interested in stamp collecting. I don't get that. I'd think that was a little bit dorky. But I'm not going to pick on that kid because whatever.
And if you do pick on the kid needs to learn to be like, no, I'm actually okay with my hobbies and screw you.
Well, I mean, okay, yeah, I don't disagree, but I think there's a sort of middle ground of let's teach the kids to be resilient, but let's also teach other kids not to just be dicks for no reason.
Oh, for sure. I agree with that. But what I'm saying is,
I think you're going the wrong way.
Well, it's
last time I went this way and I found people. I guess we'll split up and see who finds people first.
Well, if
it looks like you're going towards a waterfall, so I think I'm going to win. Well, so that's the thing, is if you're the guy walking around wearing your stupid Apple goggles in public, it's just like you ought to be ridiculed. I'm not saying someone should like mug you. That's too far. But you shouldn't go without comment. Like, for example, I would say if you're a restaurant owner and a guy walks in, you should just be like, hey, wanker, get out. Because, like, if I owned a bar and someone came in wearing the goggles, I'd be like, no, hey, poof, get out. Like, no, I'm not serving you.
Listen to you. We serve, what is it? Hardworking men in here that want to get drunk fast. We don't need any pixies to liven up the joint.
You could say those words exclusively, or you could just express the sentiment, but, I got needles in my bum.
That's another reason why you need to get out. No, I think that what I'm trying to get at when I'm saying that it'll kind of all come out in the wash, or it all kind of shakes out in the end, is that...
Well, will it? That's the thing is, right now it's still enough of a novelty that...
What, this idea of like, oh, we got to be kind to everybody.
Oh, no, I'm still talking about the technology stuff.
Oh, no, I was talking about the bullying.
Oh, well, I mean, that I don't think is ever going to go away, because that's just a social phenomenon.
Well, it's not, but, okay.
You're going down the waterfall. I'm going... There's guys over here, so this must be at least close to the right direction.
Over where? Because
I went
this up. Oh, here we go. Hi. Hello.
I think that's where we came out of.
No, I don't think it is.
Well, again, I guess we'll find out who finds people first. But the thing is, it's only an aberration now because the technology is new and fairly expensive, so it's a strange thing. But if it ever gets to the point where everyone's got these and they're as affordable as a smartphone, then someone from like 100 years ago would look at a bunch of people on a bus staring at little metal rectangles that show images versus someone staring at, I think you're going the wrong way and I'm dead. Now we're both going the wrong way.
Are you positive of that?
There's enemies up ahead, and that's usually a sign that that's the spot to be.
I'm not seeing any enemies.
Yeah, because you've never been up there. I'm seeing the enemies.
No, I'm saying I have yet to see anything red on my screen.
Yes, because you're going the wrong way. Follow me. I'll take you to the enemies.
Pal, I didn't give you this kind of trash for you wandering around in the desert while I was busy pulling your weight.
Well, you had action to fight. But you sapped me to your non-action.
Yeah.
It's like there would be no difference to someone 100 years ago of a bus full of people sitting on their phones versus a bus full of people wearing the strange goggles. They would find both of those strange.
Sure.
And they are equally strange.
Right. We can't draw the line all of a sudden and be like, this.
And I have seen people try to make the comparison of like, well, if you look at old pictures from the 50s, you had a bunch of people on a train reading the newspaper, and they weren't sitting around talking to each other. It's like, yes and no, because
it's about
a newspaper isn't quite the same level of distance, I think.
Make the argument about that with the glasses, where it's like it's not the same level. It's now a new level of immersion.
Because the argument could at least be, if two guys are sitting next to each other reading the same newspaper, well, then that's still a shared thing, whereas two people sitting on their phone could be looking at who knows what. So it's more alienating than, hey, we both happen to be reading the newspaper. And even just, perhaps this is not terribly, this might not be the best argument, but there's just, even aesthetically, it's like, okay, it just doesn't look as pathetic. Because at least, ostensibly, a newspaper has stuff worth watching on it, or reading.
So.
And you might say, well, the internet has all sorts of stuff. But yeah, you don't know that that's what they're watching. They could be playing the stupid trolley game or watching cat memes.
Oh.
It's like, at least the argument might have been back in the day if a guy was reading a newspaper on the public transportation, perhaps he was at least learning something about the world. Maybe I'm giving too much credit to old newspapers,
no,
but
it was also social. It was there. There was a collective.
Because again, a newspaper was a standard thing.
Right.
Like, there were only a handful of them, so chances are you had the guy next to you was reading the same one as you, most likely. I don't know. We're griping about the past again. Whoa. All I'm saying is, I'm not going back to the flip phone, or to the non-flip phone. It just doesn't... I can't conceive of any reason why I would need to, I guess, is my point. Oh, hello. What, you acting like you come in here and own the place? Area secure. We've been in the basement for 3 days.
Oh, sad day.
Tactical butt. Whoa. Alright, the action's coming finally.
Don't take me butt stuff.
Is that what you want?
No,
take my butt.
I didn't say that. I said don't take my butt.
I didn't hear that. I'm pretty sure I know what I heard.
Wow.
Alright, have I ranted enough? Is the soapbox lathered up?
That's not lathered up.
You want what? Okay. You've completely missed the point. You've been on the wank goggles this whole time. I am getting DOS shot. There we go. Well. That's me. Got any other topics? I guess that's about as far as that one will stretch.
We had that one in the taffy folder for a while.
Well, I just was thinking about it and the various... I don't know, because I could almost... I saw, in fact, a video... It was very random, but it was just some guy who had coded an old, like, IBM original CRT monitor computers to mimic the Portal Still Alive's closing song with, like, the different graphics and everything. Like the ASCII art.
Okay, yeah.
Or ASCS or ASC2 or whatever you pronounce that. But, like, it's fascinating to watch old technology because there's a part of me that feels like technology should be a distinctly non-human thing. Maybe that's the ultimate argument. I've come around to the Dune position of like, no, a machine must never replace a human mind. Because it's just... I think... I've joked before, it's like I like my machines dumb and unfriendly. Because watching this guy boot up this massive old computer, I'm like, this is how interacting with a computer ought to be. It ought to be a distinct tool with a distinct purpose that stays in a distinct place.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying to say that it needs to be purposefully clunky, but just like we have lost the delineation from where the real person begins and this sort of fake digital identity begins. And I think that is where we've gone astray.
Oh, he just beamed.
It's the Kierkegaardian position. I believe that my job is to make life more difficult for people.
Well, I mean, I certainly think that the idea of innovation being... I've always appreciated innovation being
I'm getting double teamed by aliens! You gonna even out this scenario? You're gonna
I can't be over there because you gotta survive.
Well, you didn't tell me that. I would have avoided the aliens. Double or otherwise.
I mean, I find that innovation for the sake of ease or
we talked about that
convenience
before.
is something that is
Screw convenience. That's my other strategy.
It's worse than
improvements. Sure, convenience. No.
Yes. If it's hey, this is actually a better way of doing something.
Woo.
If you're making a better mousetrap, great. But when you start going, this just makes your job easy, it's like, well, okay, sure. Hey, buddy.
He was incensed. He couldn't believe your audacity that you would approach him like that.
Oh,
doesn't it suck being the only smart people on the internet?
That was. I think you said that at a very poor time that I just threw myself.
I wasn't talking about you.
You were talking only about yourself. Okay, thank you.
And I yes, because I am multiple people.
So equally proving my point.
Where? They're up here. They're in the trees.
It's the trees.
By the way, there's a ramp. Cunning aliens. I haven't come across the concept of a ramp.
Oh, hi.
Die, you thing. You know, that's something that never occurs to me. In the Halo universe, there's no slurs for the aliens. And that just seems like something that would inevitably arise. Well, okay, that's not exactly true. It's kind of true because they're not exactly slurs. They're mostly just nicknames.
Okay, good.
Like the names that they're
just all of a sudden struggling really hardcore.
Like the names that are given in the games are not actually what they're called, but they're not necessarily slurs.
Well, but I mean, maybe they are to them.
I'm sure they would consider it that way, but but even then, not exactly, because for example, like the grunts, the little guys, that's not obviously what they're called. That's just what the humans call them. But pretty sure the Sangheili would be like, well, yeah, that's actually not a bad. That's basically what they are. They're essentially a indentured slave class. So grunt is basically all they're good for. But and like the weird insect bird ones are called, like they call them jackals. That's obviously not what they're called, but that's not much of a slur. I don't know. That's what would you call these things to be insulting to them? I mean, I guess that's non-specific. I would call them goosenecks. I don't know why that occurs to me, just because of the weird neck and I don't know.
And goose.
And yeah, because goose.
Neck and goose.
Because it's there. I don't know.
Okay, where is my sniper rifle?
You lost it because you died.
Well,
you fell off a cliff. Okay. How could I take it from you? I jumped off the cliff to get it.
Okay. It's not where I lost it, but okay.
You fell off a cliff. How could it be where you lost it?
I lost it previously, pal. I was trying to find it again.
It seems we've cleared the area. Where are we supposed to go next?
I don't know. I wasn't listening to her rant.
There's our ride. Get aboard and let's get out of
here. Oh, our ride. Here we go. Yeah, I'm coming. Hang on. I don't know. I think pelicans look cool. They could have a better name. I grant you that. You're doing it again. They won't let it. Oh, okay. I got mad. I got mad before it was fair. All right. Well, you have any other social issues we should fix once and for all?
No.
I'm just saying. Not that I support. Yes, don't do that. I'm not saying I would support a federal ban on smartphones because I don't like the government being used to solve problems. But if there was significant social stigma around them...
How about we have
I'll just jump to it. If I was made a dictator... Let's just jump straight to that.
Well...
Would I
if it works.
Would I ban smartphones? No, but I would probably restrict them in a lot of ways.
All I'm saying is we need another council. This will be called the Council of...
No, well, okay, if it's going to be an ecumenical thing, I'd have far more important issues to address.
Like what?
The filioques. If I was in charge of an ecumenical council, I would have one goal only, which is none of you are leaving until we are a united church again.
Yeah, that's...
Well, all right, well, we get your sniper fix.
Stick to the higher ground.
What about by the hour?
Getting paid by the hour. I wonder, how does military pay work?
It's certainly salary.
Okay. Okay then.
Maybe it's death count.
That is absolutely how it ought to be.
That would be hilarious. That's 45. Eat it.
In which case, that would actually make that would make warfare very different. You'd have a bunch of really rich snipers, and that's it.
Well, I mean, there have been certainly dystopian.
Okay,
vibes.
you look ridiculous. That's all I will say. That gun in third person does not look at all menacing. You look like you're on some kiddie ride out front of a supermarket.
A super target, is that what you said?
Supermarket. Like it just looks like all it does is go up and down. Best case, you're in some kind of a simulator at a science fair. Well, apparently this is all I'm looking at for the next couple minutes. What were you gonna say something?
Well, I'm saying there's been certainly quite a few dystopian kind of vibes that have to do with that, where
What?
The whole idea of war becoming like a profiteering vibe of hey,
Yeah, but I
now
mean,
I'm-
if the soldiers are the ones profiteering, those are the only people who ought to. Like, corporations who make money off of military supplies is different. Versus, like, I'm just a soldier and I get paid based on how many people I kill. I guess that would incentivize...
but it would still, I mean, like, it would just make war weird. I feel like it would end up being like a lot of people.
Because
out
war
there
is
just-
perfectly normal as it is.
Well, no, I'm just saying you'd have a lot of murderers out there just killing willy-nilly.
Well,
You got
okay,
people out here
here's the
breaking
thing that
necks
people don't... Here's
willy-nilly.
an uncomfortable thing to talk about, but if you ask the average guy, why'd you sign up in World War II, his response would not have been for democracy or to defend my country. It would have been because I want to kill Germans.
Well, sure.
Like, maybe not universally, but there was a lot of people who was just like, nah, I just wanted to kill some crowds.
But the reason...
Like...
Hang on a minute, though. The reason...
I'm dead. This does not need pausing.
Sorry. This is... No.
There were
The
people
reason-
who responded to that question.
Because of vindication. Or...
Yeah, but that's not the same as I want to defend my country. It's like, well,
No,
it's too late to
that's
defend your country.
True, it's a revenge issue, but still, that's not an
Just saying,
invalid reason.
the fact of the matter is, we live in a society where an average kill count of 0 is expected of you. And that was not true at almost any other point in history. Even, like, you go back to the Greeks, it's like, okay, yeah, you're not expected to be Achilles, not every man was, but, like, if something went awry, you had to fix it. You had to be able, at least, to respond to threats and defend people and yourself and your family and whatnot. So this idea that, a non-violent person is inherently the moral standard,
Yeah,
it's like,
that's true.
That's never been the case. You birds!
Certainly wasn't true within like the actual establishment of
Motion traffic.
the United States. I mean that is
back in the day, you had dueling. Literally
Right.
for no other reason than because you offended me.
well, and when you were defending,
I
honor,
killed a
I mean,
guy
it was like
because he
honor is
annoyed
literally,
me.
Yeah,
That's about as... Like, what... That was a socially acceptable standard. He got on my nerves, so I killed him.
no, that it was hardly that
No.
right.
Well, there were people who were that flippant about it.
Well, again, at that point, the moral issue becomes less the killing and more the motivation, which I
Sure.
think is really the reality.
I'm not advocating for any of this. I would just like to go on the record.
We're
I'm
gonna-
just saying
we're
we
gonna
have
get
probably
put
swung
on
the
a
pendulum
list
too far
again.
to the opposite
no,
side.
we haven't. Back in the Wild West, when you could be like, "Hey, that guy was threatening my family. I'm going to shoot him." It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but we're not in that.
I agree,
We
but
live
I'm
in an
saying
era
there
where
was
if you
nothing wrong
defend
with
yourself
that,
from a home invader, you could actually be prosecuted.
which is absurd to me.
This is my
Let's
point.
talk about that for a
Well, no,
second.
let's not, because it's
No,
too
you
stupid.
turned into Seinfeld all of a sudden. Ouch, let's not.
All I'm saying is we live in an era when that we have swung to the opposite of what has been. And I'm not saying what has been was what we should be, but I think we have still swung too far. Violence is not a negative inherently. It is simply a neutral force that can be used for good or ill. Just like technology. There you go, I wrapped it back around.
Like a man putting his rear end or his head firmly up his rear end. That's how you turn that back around.
Okay. Sure, maybe. Seriously, social issues, which ones would you fix?
Certainly not murder, apparently.
I'm not saying I would give people a free ride. I didn't. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think murder ever came up during that conversation.
It did, I assure you.
No, how did that come up? Because what I said I'd fix was, or would I restrict smartphones? And the answer is probably.
I'm miffed that I lost my sniper rifle already.
I'll join the club. I think that's well and truly gone.
The grunts are doing me dirty here.
Maybe that was the original thought. Slurs for aliens.
Yeah, and we moved to murder.
Goosenecks.
Goosenecks and murder. That's the title of this episode.
That was never. I never brought that up in that context. I don't remember how that came up, but it was not the social chain.
Well, it is interesting that even back when you mentioned World War II, the fact that they
Killing crowds.
disassociated their murdering of other humans by literally just saying, it's these guys. They're not actually people. They're just crowds.
Well, it wasn't. I don't think they'd have said that explicitly. It was.
Well,
I think they would have said, not they're obviously people, but they deserve it.
I'm just
Again,
saying,
that was but that was not my social change that I wanted to say.
He's wanting to really establish.
Restrict smartphones. What else?
Kill crowds.
No, they're fine now. They've paid.
For the most part.
They've come around.
All right, I gotta play a little less fast and loose.
Well, basically all the stuff I would do would basically be deliberately kneecap my own government so that all governments that followed me were also equally kneecapped. And you'd have to do that in a careful way because you don't just want to make yourself ineffectual but leave the door open. I would close the door and collapse the tunnel behind me. And pass a bunch of executive orders that outlaw executive orders. That's the kind of politics I'd play. I'd be like, yep, I'm signing the last executive order, which states that there shall be no more executive orders ever. The thing is, could you even reverse that legally with a precedent? Because, I mean, technically you might be able to argue that we're not abiding by a previous administration's laws because we don't agree with it, but like, if the previous administration outlawed the changing of laws, where's the gray area? How do you make the case? Because I don't know. There'd have to be.
Oh,
you
really?
Deserve that. Yeah. Because I don't know. I'm not sure that there'd be much fun in. Well, I mean, there would be, but I'm not sure how much real good you'd get from the sort of just being the emperor for the sake of it. Like, there's plenty of things I'd do, but I'm not sure that they'd actually make society better. They'd be mostly just on a whim. Be an experiment. Why are you shooting at him with the pea shooter?
Because it's useful for clearing without having to use my other bullets for people that I'm going to need to be a little bit more aggressive with. Like this guy apparently being an absolute...
Yeah, I don't think this is going to help. I think I'd get your other gun.
Oh, okay.
And you said the needler wasn't good.
Well, it certainly takes forever. Even that, I mean, that was a case in point with that guy. He was shooting at me for quite some time and still got nothing done. I will take it from him though.
This is what we called revealed preference. Aww.
Well, over the pistol little pea shooter I was dealing with earlier, yes. That I will agree with you.
What would you do?
With the drunken sailor.
That doesn't sound the same as the song, but okay.
What? That is what the song is.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when spoken, it doesn't sound the same.
Why?
Just think about it. Ponder
I'm
it.
aware.
Well, it's basically asking, hey, what would you do with a drunken sailor? What would you do?
You're so smart. What would you do?
What? Okay, I keep getting killed by my own grenades.
Who are these grenade throwers? Why are they throwing them? Okay, I don't feel
But
that this
seriously,
is going...
okay, executive orders.
This was poorly conceived.
Write some executive orders that you think would fix things.
Everybody ought to be required to eat Eggs Benedict on Friday.
All right, now you ain't taking this seriously.
No, of course not.
We were talking about things like phones and why people ought not to be on them.
I don't think
and
executive orders personally are...
I don't either, but I'm saying since it's the political game in town, you might as well play.
Well, that was Donald Trump's argument with taxes.
Well, no, it's factually
Which I don't
true.
disagree.
You can't. You gotta play the rule. You gotta know the rules to change the game. You can't just say, well, because I wish that wasn't how government was done. That's not that. I won't do it that way. It's like, well, great, you'll never be in government. You gotta play by the rules of government and then hopefully change the rules. Again, that's why I would have an executive order that bans all executive orders. Okay. Well, so I actually thought Elon Musk had a really fascinating idea, which was he compared lawmaking to programming, because of course, he was like, in sophisticated computer code, you actually have arguments that will say if this code isn't triggered for this length of time, then just remove it from the code, because it essentially builds in anti-bloatware. It's basically like anti-bloatware saying, okay, this argument was written in, but it's never actually been used, so just take it out. Saying laws should have a guaranteed, like, basically where it's like, if this law doesn't actually come into effect, or it doesn't come into effect this number of times, then it just immediately is, or not immediately, but like after a certain number of time, is just becomes void.
Oh,
because the issue we have is that some lobby group pays for some really obscure, stupid law to get passed, and then that's law forever. And then that just keeps happening, so you've got law. It's like, why being a lawyer should not be... You shouldn't have to be studying for 8 years to be a lawyer. I also like Ben Shapiro's argument, which is any law that needs to be passed must be less than 10 pages and must be written in plain English. It's like, if it takes more than 10 pages, it's too complicated a law. Split it into multiples if it really needs that, or just split it into something smaller than what it is. Because if you can't communicate
certain laws that
a law in 10 pages, it's too big.
You wouldn't specifically use it every day, but it's...
Okay, but like what? Obviously, you could make the argument that if it's constitutionally based, like, okay,
right.
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of my...
Like, sure, you could say murder based on the Constitution is a violation of human rights. Therefore, it's illegal no matter what. Sure, let's say that. But when it comes to really obscure, like, licensing laws or tax stuff, it's like, this is just busyness. This is just some lobbyist paid for this, and now we're all stuck with it. Oh, there's invisible guys. Oh, wait, am I the invisible guy? I have no clue how I turned invisible. Like, at all, I don't know how I did that. must have stepped on I must have picked up an upgrade thing. I didn't think this game had those. What is going on at the rave? There's quite the show happening. Okay, wow, I'm about to have an epileptic fit.
Are you dead?
No, I'm wandering around, but the light show's quite a thing.
Well, I died. So
I shall avenge you by getting shot.
please don't.
Ah! Oh, I didn't get shot, I got smacked. So you're opposed to the structures of power no matter what you use them for? Doesn't sound terribly Tommy Shelby of you.
I don't. I think that the structures of power, if it's a human system, it must be balanced as best it can be.
Yes, but it isn't. So how would you, in light of that, how would you behave? If it was
Well, I mean,
thrust
obviously,
upon
I'm
you?
going to take advantage of the fact that it's
Well,
not.
that's my point. So what executive orders are you going to give? You can't just say, I don't like them, therefore I won't.
I don't know that there's much that I would. The thing is, where it's not. People don't tend to look at the fact that on an opportunity level, there's very little that people can't actually accomplish or do here based on our laws. It's
there's a few.
like what?
Not pay taxes.
Well, okay.
I maintain that should always be an opportunity open to you. Like,
Well, then, but you should not then be able to reap the benefit of that.
no, I'm not even opposed
Yes.
to paying taxes to avoiding taxes being illegal. The fact of the matter is, the way it works, I couldn't not pay taxes if I wanted to. They are deducted from me. I don't pay taxes because that would imply that I am the one like signing a check saying, "Okay, here's my taxes." Because that's how it used to be.
Sure.
But now it's like, okay, my employer is in cahoots with the government and they give them part of my money. I don't even have the freedom to not pay taxes.
So how would you have it structured?
Well, I mean, basically, you just have it be, rather than you fill out a form and maybe you get money back or maybe you owe the government money, just no. Be smart with your money. And if you owe money when you fill out your form, you have to send a check to the government, which at least leaves you open to the possibility of, if you want to protest and say I won't, then you can't. Then you can do that. Now that's still a crime, and you'll still be, committing a crime. But because here's the thing that people don't want to think about is, as long as you're willing to go to jail, there's nothing you can't do.
Well, I'm aware.
So it's like the idea that, I can't do that. It's like, well, no, you can. You just have to be okay with going to jail. But that's the thing. I don't have the opportunity to say I'll go to jail to not pay taxes because I believe so strongly.
Oh, Nelly.
Like, you can make the argument that I believe so strongly that the government is corrupt that I refuse to pay taxes.
Sure.
And I will be, subject to the laws that are applicable. But I am still standing by my protest.
Sure.
So you don't even have that freedom because you're not even given the chance.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but that comes back to human.
I would also ban insurance.
That I agree with. I think that should be.
I think it's all
I
a
don't think
scam.
it's insurance that I would ban.
No, it's all just a protect. It's all protection racket, of varying degrees.
To a degree, but I think
Government sanctioned protection racket.
agreed. But I think that it should not be mandated, because if you want to opt into it, sure.
I don't know. I think it needs to go away.
Why? Well, then at
vengeance
that point,
mostly.
I think at that point, then medically,
'Cause here's
there
the way
also
I would-
need to be an adjustment
'cause
of all
here's-
the medical racket.
Well, yeah, I think ultimately there's two
I
factors.
just took a picture of your chest. That'll be $100,000.
Yeah, there's two factors. Because it's mandatory, then they know that they can charge whatever. The service can expand exponentially because basically it's being subsidized.
Is what it is.
So if it was people having to actually pay for their stuff, then there would actually have to be some competition about decent pricing.
Right.
But then beyond that, I feel like because I can understand the argument that says, okay, even if the market value of certain things was to be corrected, certain medical procedures are just going to be too expensive anyways. Like if you get cancer, you'd be hosed because even if it was, a marketplace of varying treatments of varying prices, that's still going to be something that you probably won't have the funds for. But I just don't like the idea of paying into a system. You're guaranteed to put more into it than you'll ever get out.
Well, that's true.
And that I don't think is right. So to me, I'd almost have it be replaced with some kind of a loan-based thing, where it's like, okay, if I get into a car wreck and I don't have car insurance, I
think you
have
just pistol whipped me.
Yeah, you were in between me and the guy. You got between a Nazgul and his alien. It's like, if I get into a car wreck and I don't have car insurance, what I should be able to do is essentially go to a bank, and banks would then, I mean, again, you're now giving power to the banks, which is an equally potentially probable problem.
That's certainly a...
But here's what I thought of, and I think it might actually make sense, is that essentially all insurance stuff would be handled at a bank loan level. So you'd say, okay, I got into an accident, it caused this much in damages, so the bank will pay that for this person. I then have to pay the bank that money back. Which basically puts you on exactly the same plan as before.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm now paying a certain amount of money every month towards this insurance, but rather than a preventative...
Well, you
wouldn't
can
it
take
be
out a personal loan. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but see, the problem is the concept of a personal loan is like payday loans are somewhat, they can be extortionately interest based because of the fact that they're essentially organized to prey on people who can't, because they deal in small loan quantities for people who couldn't get normal loans.
Sure.
And so they basically are set up to predate upon those people, and that's not quite
agree.
Correct. I would almost have it be like the same interest rates that apply for federal bonds would apply to these loans, where it's like, okay, yeah, you're going to pay like 1.5% interest. That's not 30. You're not going to get ruined by this just because you didn't have the money to afford, this accident. Because that's not a preferable system either. But essentially, you'd then say, okay, I'm paying this level of premium for this many months until I pay the loan back, and then I don't have to pay for insurance anymore. Because I don't think you should be paying for things you don't need. The idea that, well,
use it when you need
I might someday need it, therefore I need to pay into it now. It's like, yeah, and this is a nice business you got here. Shame if something would happen to it. It's not that... Obviously, the only real difference between the mob and an insurance company is that the insurance company isn't going to go around smacking your car. Although... who knows?
They kind of do.
Well, they might be the ones lobbying for certain...
your car to get smacked.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. I just find insurance to be so obviously a racket. I mean, it's evidenced by the fact that what's the primary job of insurance people is finding ways to not pay people the money they give them.
Well, yeah, that's...
It's like, yeah, we know you gave money into this system, but we don't want to give it back, so we're going to come up with all these rules as to why we don't have to do that. So, I don't know. I'd get rid of that. I suppose, yeah, again, you'd make it just non-mandatory. But see, then you'd have the problem is then the loan strategy would have to be mandatory, because if you get into an accident and you cause someone else damage to their property, you are at fault, and therefore that is something you have to pay back. And so if you don't have insurance, how would you make them pay it back? Unless you mandated this kind of a loan scheme where it's like, okay, this you can, because even then you'd say, all right, if it's a local bank, then that's still better than a faceless megacorporation who exists only to mine money out of you and hopefully never give it back.
Right.
It's like, okay, you're going to a community bank with people who at least ostensibly care about their community. So
I suppose I think it's tenuous in at best to say that a bank would be at all much better than a...
Well, the problem is, what else would it be? Because if you're trying to get rid of insurance companies, it's a little bit of a better the devil you know kind of a thing.
Well, I suppose, but
especially if it was, because again, you could, if it was legally mandated that you have to take out this loan to pay for the damages you caused, then you have justification for saying, all right, the insurance or the interest rates are going to be fixed at by federal standard. So you're not going to get a payday loan when you have to pay 30% interest. Because that's obviously extortion. You just say, okay. I mean, the other thing, if you really let's jump to the other extreme, which would be, what if you just said, nope, we're banning interest. We're going back to the Jewish tradition. There shall be no usury in our country. C.S. Lewis had an interesting comment about that, basically saying, where he was like, it's worth examining, even though he was like, I'm no economist, so I can't say specifically, but the fact that we base our entire economic system off of something that many civilizations have banned for moral reasons it's like we might get bit for that one day.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's got a point. Because it is... I mean, the argument is capitalism inherently... Does capitalism require interest payments? I'm not sure that it does.
Not at all.
Because the argument would be that capital... The reason you have insurance is because the argument is that capital is something that's worth something in and of itself more than just...
No, but see...
It's like if I have $1,000, it isn't just worth $1,000, it's worth the interest I could get out of it if I invested it.
Sure.
And I don't know that that's inherent to capitalism. Because capital is...
Interest on gain I don't have a problem with. Like if you put into a stock market and you say, okay, I'm going to have this sit for a time and I'm going to gain...
That's not the same as interest, though.
Sure. I mean, that's just...
That's just appreciation. I mean, the only reason you get money out of that is because if you pick the right stocks, they will appreciate in value. Loaning is where you get interest, basically saying, yes, I gave you this amount of money, but you owe me a different amount of money. It's like, what's really the moral argument behind that, other than I could have invested that money and gotten this interest amount back, therefore you also owe me for the interest I didn't get on this money? It's like, well, then don't give it to me, you weirdo. It's like, that's... The argument is almost like, yes, but $1,000 is worth more than $1,000, because if I invested it, I could have gotten more. Therefore, you owe me more than the $1,000 I loaned you. It's like, that's playing silly games. This is a hypothetical at this point. This isn't concrete. You didn't give me that, extra money, therefore I don't owe it to you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's certainly a lot of companies that are set up to promise more than they deliver, obviously, and then they defend how that works. But I don't know. I don't know that the bank would be a significant enough. I mean, the only thing I've seen work is where you have like pay share kinds of situations.
Well, yeah, like community and loans kind of systems.
But the problem with that is that becomes collectivist, and then you have the risk of it becoming a little
not
bit
exactly,
more
because they are
communistic.
still businesses. It's just businesses that target specific demographics.
Sure, but then the question becomes who actually monitors that money is being allocated properly.
Well, that's where it would, again, if it was a community-based thing, you would have to be honest about it, otherwise people wouldn't go to you for it, because if it's community-based, people would know.
But what I'm getting at, and I think you're missing what I'm getting at, is that it becomes then the trouble.
Well, then essentially the argument would be, okay, if you don't have insurance, you would either have to go to a bank and get this federally mandated loan, or there could be a certain level of like these sorts of local institutions, community lending groups you'd have some kind of a legal standard that says, all right, they can get certified as, government insurance approved or whatever. So it's like you could either get the government-backed or the government-enforced loan, or you could go to one of these community loans provided they meet the right criteria. You'd have to have it be that kind of a system. I mean, that's not actually unlike how certain... Like, there's ideas behind the concept of school tax credit where it's like, okay, you can either go to the public-funded school and not have to pay for it because it's government-funded, or... There are certain, private schools that meet a certain criteria which you can go to them and you might get some kind of a subsidy for it that helps you pay for some of the cost but not all of it or whatnot. It's, I don't know, various kinds of options. All I'm saying is there has to be some kind of a compulsion, because if someone causes damage to someone else's property, that is still something they ought to rectify.
Yeah.
I just don't think insurance is the right way. This is getting awfully nitty-gritty, and we've gone over the time.
Well, that's it for today, and as far as our politics lesson, bottom line is, apparently, given the opportunity, you would be a dictator.
Benevolent. I mean, what's a king but a benevolent dictator?
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess not even all kings were benevolent. I would gladly be a benevolent king. Are you saying you would not?
I would.
If someone said, "Hey, we'll give you a shot at fixing the country for 2 years, we'll just let you do whatever."
Leader, I don't know that I would. I think my first action points would be to broaden the power.
No, because that's if they gave it to me, I'd be like, okay, I'll see what I can do in 2 years. I mean, in some ways, I almost appreciate the kind of Roman imperator thing, where it's like, basically, I have all the power, but I am still a limited time. I mean, that obviously that didn't end up working out that way, which means clearly there's clearly fault in that system. But like, just saying, all right, I am the guy in charge for the next 2 years, and I can do whatever the heck I want, provided that in 2 years I'm gone. Sure. It's like, okay, at least you might get stuff done. We aren't supposed to be a democracy anyway, so the idea that democracy is the highest moral good is just not true.
Well, yeah, and that whole situation, because, yeah, that is such a misnomer now that people don't even understand the difference and what the original design and intention was versus what we have now. It's like, well, at this point, we really have the same thing as a socialized democracy that everybody else in Europe has. It's not really much different.
I am out of ammo, and I've got a crappy pea shooter.
I have nothing.
You said we're out of we're done with the political topics, but are we done with the playing?
Well, I think so.
Well, then let's do that. Oh, I'm falling off a cliff. That's me being done.
Oh, apparently, I just got needled in the butt. So.
Perfect timing. Okay. Did you now? Oh, we were supposed to board that thing the whole time. Well, that certainly makes some sense. Explains why they kept coming, at least. Whew. My voice hurts. I'm not used to talking so much about things that I guess I was going to say that matter, but I'm not sure that qualifies. I don't know where the mouse went. You got to sign off?
No.